The Man Up North Conference is coming to the Sanford Center in Bemidji on January 24th through 26th, featuring speakers such as Governor Mike Huckabee and Kevin Zorbo. Right now, we speak to the man behind the event, Pastor Daunten Veit. Pastor Veit, thank you very much for joining me today.
Yes, good to be here. Good to be talking with you.
So what is this conference? What can we expect from it?
Well, that's a very good question. This conference, well, the Lord kind of put it on my heart a while back, which was initially just to be a men's retreat, but it grew legs, and I knew that He was looking for something bigger. So what you can expect is, the purpose of it is obviously to raise men up to be godly men in these days. And what we expect is having speakers telling truth, addressing all facets of being a man of God today. And some of them are kind of hard to deal with. Some of them are on the lighter side, but we know we just need to be encouraged. We need to be trained and equipped for the task at hand.
And this is exclusively for men? Like, is that a hard and fast rule?
Yes, it is. And it's not to negate the women, but it's to make better men to send back to our women. To be better fathers, better husbands, better sons.
So if someone was to show up and just had the, oh, it's fine attitude, they'd be turned away because this is an all-male event.
Right. I mean, this isn't like Alfalfa with his He-Man Woman Haters Club and him and Spank and all that. This is, if a woman walks in the door, she's going to be loved on regardless. But, it'd be no different than if a guy walked into a Mary Kay party. They'd be cordial, but, it's just a different scenario.
So where did the idea for the event as it exists now come from? How did you come up with it?
Well, I really can't say that I came up with it. So, I was talking to a pastor friend of mine about doing a men's retreat, and then as we were exploring different venues for that, just kept hearing the Lord in my spirit saying, no, you're thinking too small. And so we started going to different venues and looking, and he's like, no, too small. And then I'm like, Lord, the only thing big enough is the Sanford Center in Bemidji. And so I went up to talk to them and asked them what they would have available. And they did not have anything in the winter, which winter months seem to work best for guys. They did have Valentine's Day, but a men's retreat on Valentine's Day, well, you and I can both do the math and know how that ends up.
Dear, I'm going to a men's conference. Yeah.
Yes. So I left, and I was actually out in the parking lot kind of whining to the Lord about this. I thought, this is where you're leading me. And I was no more than 2 blocks away, and my phone rang, and they're like, you're not going to believe this, but we just had a cancellation in January. Would you be interested? I turned the truck around, I went back, and we booked it, and the rest is history, so they say.
So you've got this, it's very large, this venue. Now, we recently had a Toby Mac concert there, so our audience is quite acquainted with this particular venue. My question is, how did you manage to get such a star-studded lineup of speakers? Because you've got Governor Mike Huckabee, and he's a big celebrity, especially in the conservative realm. You've got Kevin Zorbo.
Huckabee, yes.
I remember him, of course, as Hercules when I was growing up. But you've also got Zach Fowler, Vince Miller, Kent Dudley, Doug Stanton, Matt Klein. How do you manage to arrange for speakers of this magnitude?
Simply asked. Oh, it was, and to be honest, I asked a number of them, learned, where their hearts were. So, like I mentioned before, we want to cover all facets of being a man of God. Looking for speakers that could cover those different topics. There's some people out there that, call themselves quote-unquote Christian, have a huge following. You'd be surprised on the rates that they would ask to do it. And, and then other ones are just as humble as they come, and you can see the servant's heart. And one of them is actually Mike Huckabee. He's just as humble and as God-fearing as you find. And, yes, he's quite famous, but his heart is where we want. And that's what we're kind of looking for this, is to sow into men, not just to entertain them.
Right. And so this event is, of course, it's not free. You have to buy tickets to get in. And just so we're clear, this isn't about turning a profit. This is about covering cost?
Correct. In fact, I anticipate that we won't cover costs, but that doesn't matter because I, really feel that the men of this region are worth going into. So now, all that being said, we've had some corporate sponsors come alongside that are help sharing the cost so we could keep ticketing prices in line. For the 3-day event, we're way below what it would cost to go to just a mainstream concert for only a few hours. So I've heard over and over, I can't believe, how reasonable this is. But we wanted it. We want it to be affordable for everybody to come. We want to be able to, for them to bring their friends or pay for their friends, or maybe you want to, buy tickets for your kids or grandkids or whatever. So that was the goal of this.
So how should this event be perceived? Because I think in male culture, the idea of going somewhere to get help could be looked down on, looked at a sign of weakness. So is this sort of like a male rally? Is this a ministry thing? What sort of imagery do you want to attach to this? How should men think about it?
Well, for one, it's not a hyper-masculine kind of environment. It's kind of a crazy thing because we have, obviously, the conference of speakers, but then we have the expo that displays men-focused products or services from Christian companies around the area. So there's a lot of, like I like to call man candy there for them to go see in between speakers. But getting back to your question, we do have things that we all need to work on. Some of us, maybe there's some areas that are pretty good, but all of us have an area that needs to be worked on. So it's easier to do it in a setting like this. That's another reason why we want it men only, because if we get into some really deep topics, dealing with sexual addiction or chemical addiction or whatever, it's easier to talk about amongst guys. If grandma's staring at you, then maybe not so much. I guess that's what I see, the vision in this.
And so where can people get tickets? People are interested. They want to be part of what's going on. Where can men go to be part of this?
So obviously you can go buy tickets right off the website at manupnorth.com. We're asking guys to consider doing group tickets so they can get group rates. And for group rates, they can contact us, contact some of the radio stations they're offering to go through and help with it just to save all the ticketing costs through Ticketmaster. But if you just want to buy individual tickets or buy tickets or gifts, the easiest way to do it is just right through the website or through Sanford's website as well.
Pastor Veit, is there anything that you'd like to highlight that I might have left out? Anything that is going on that you'd like to just put out there?
Yes, and this one's for the guys that really love to fish. So part of the vision is, since we're on Lake Bemidji with the event center, for those that, they've saved up and they bought this nice wheelhouse and they want to use it as much as possible, here's a great time to use it. You can park it right on the ice and walk into the event center and have the best of both worlds. That just adds another layer, your friends can stay in there with you and then come in for the event, go back out, sleep in the wheelhouses. It doesn't get any funner than that.
You can make a whole event out of it, right?
Absolutely.
Well, that sounds good. Well, Pastor Veit, thank you very much for joining us and telling us all about the Man Up North Conference.
It's a pleasure talking to you about it, Greg.
For tickets and information about the Man Up North Conference, visit manupnorth.com. For Heartland Christian Broadcasters, I'm Greg Kaufman.